Joining me right now on the phone is former Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman and the CEO of Kalorama Partners, Harvey Pitt. Harvey, it's great to talk with you again. Thanks very much for being here.
Good to be with you, Maria.
Yes, I want to get your take on so many things. Let's talk Robinhood for a moment and allowing retail investors to get in on that IPO. Your reaction?
My reaction is this is a clever idea. It will require a lot of negotiations between Robinhood and those who create IPOs for other companies. It will be easy for Robinhood to do this for its own IPO because it doesn't have to negotiate with anyone. But it will have to negotiate with those on Wall Street who are handling other IPOs. But I think it's simply a question of working out arrangements, and this will be a novel and interesting approach.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, there's so many things happening in the capital markets today that I'd love you to comment on. For example, this boom in SPACs. Earlier this hour, we reported that WeWork is agreeing to a SPAC deal with BowX Acquisition Corp in a $9 billion deal. This coming as the Securities and Exchange Commission reportedly is investigating the rise in special purpose acquisition companies, according to Reuters. Harvey, we've seen a string of deals which pretty much allow companies to go public by merging in with a SPAC. What's your reaction to this new way of doing things and the rate of growth of SPACs that we're seeing?
I think that as a general proposition, there are a lot of advantages to it, but there are also legitimate concerns about the welfare of those who are encouraged to invest. At the moment, I think a lot of people are hearing about SPACs, and without really thinking through the issues, they're following the herd, so to speak, and investing without understanding exactly what it is they're buying into. In a sense, part of it is you're buying into a pig in a poke if you buy a SPAC, because you don't know what the ultimate entity will be that the SPAC will acquire, or whether it will acquire any entity. And there are other questions in terms of both disclosures and insider trading. So the SEC, I think, is appropriately stepping back and looking at this. Right now, its inquiry is informal, which means it's asking people voluntarily to turn over information. But I also believe that no one should be misled. If the SEC finds indications of concern to it about how investors are being treated, they will get subpoena power and go after individual companies. Right now, no specific public SPAC is being targeted.
I see. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point that you make, because all you really know is that any company is going to get acquired by a SPAC. You don't necessarily understand, or it's not necessarily transparent that you know what growth story that company may have, or how that company's fortunes may or may not change, and what the growth story is right off the bat. So there's a lot of information to be gained from the investor looking into these things. But let me turn to China, Harvey, because we've spoken a lot about China on this program, and the motives and the goals of the Chinese Communist Party wanting to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower, civil-military fusion, and how some Chinese companies are very tied to the Chinese military, and that has led to the delisting of some Chinese companies. The Securities and Exchange Commission beginning to implement a law passed that would threaten to kick Chinese companies off of U.S. exchanges if they did not follow the auditing rules. The SEC says it's forcing accounting firms to be able to review financial audits of companies based overseas. Harvey, you would think that all companies should follow the same rules, and if you're listed in the United States, you have to follow Sarbanes-Oxley the way every other company does. What is your reaction to what's going on with regard to China and Chinese listed companies? I recognize this is a big growth story, China is, for American companies who want to sell to 1.4 billion people. But are they also not focused on the risks here and the ties to a communist nation?
Well, I think there are a lot of difficulties here, Maria. One of the biggest problems is that the Chinese government takes the position that audit work papers are confidential and cannot be released without appropriate approval from the government. The PCAOB, which is the private sector overseer of audit work, has attempted to work out arrangements with China, and it has been unsuccessful. And this goes back for quite a period of time. The whole Foreign Companies Accountable Act is the basis for the SEC now adopting interim rules. And the difficulty that I think rises is that without a government-to-government agreement, the work is going to basically be very, very difficult.